You need 35, 40, $50 million before a campaign gets going, to get going. In other words, before Iowa, the caucuses,
right,
you would need at least that much. Are you confident you would?
Well, I won't run for president if I don't think I can. At the end of the day, no matter how good your ideas are.
Having that much money?
Well, it's something in that range. I don't know the exact number, but you need to have, there is a threshold that you must meet to be a credible candidate, because it does cost money to communicate your message to voters. I feel confident that we're going to meet that number and exceed it. I do. And I wouldn't run for president if I didn't think we could.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio telling me he can raise it to money guy Norman Braman, who is planning to help him do it because he's pledging up to $10 million of his own money to Marco Rubio should he decide to run. Norman, very good to have you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Neil.
Why Marco Rubio and not that other Florida guy, Jeb Bush?
Well, first of all, I just think it's time for this country to really move ahead. It's 2016. It's not the 1990s. I don't believe in dynasties. I really think it's time for this country to move beyond the Bushes, to move beyond the Clintons. I think we need new, fresh leadership, and I honestly believe that Senator Marco Rubio can provide that leadership. He's the only candidate that has addressed the issues, that has come out with specific suggestions of how to deal with the problems that we're all suffering through today. He's an individual that comes from the type of background that I can identify with. As you know, his dad was a bartender, his mother was a maid. I mean, he personifies the American dream. My dad and mother were also immigrants. My father was a barber. My mother worked in a sewing factory. This is what America is all about, and this is what we've lost.
Now, you've made your money in a lot of things, but namely auto dealerships, right? Is that pretty much?
Yeah, well, in the auto dealerships, I had the privilege of owning the Philadelphia Eagles for 10 years.
I'll let that go. I'll let that one go. We all make mistakes. What do you know? I mean,
but I just believe in him. I've known him for 8 years, and I'm not alone. We're going to raise the money.
No, I know that he's a very impressive young man. I say young man, he's only 44 years old. But I've talked to other big money backers. Foster Friess, for example, is a big supporter of Rick Santorum. He shows up at events with Ted Cruz as well. I joke with him, are you hedging your bets? He says no. Ken Langone, a big backer, billionaire backer, Home Depot co-founder of Chris Christie. But he's open to Jeb Bush, and I always joke with him the same thing. Are you hedging your bets? To a man and woman, I've talked to a lot of women too, or big in the donor community. They all have a backup plan. Do you have a backup plan? Should the senator not get past go?
No, I'm not. I'm not there yet. I'm hoping that Senator Rubio will make a positive decision to run for president. And look, you've seen the Wall Street Journal NBC poll, which shows that Marco Rubio, among every single candidate, is more acceptable to Republicans than any other one. And this is what he's all about. As I said, he's answered questions on foreign policy specifically. He has a tax plan. He has a way of regenerating the American middle class so that they can send their kids to college, they can buy homes. He's an individual that has addressed the student loan question. No,
he's a very appealing figure. I find what's most amazing about him, and I don't mean to favor him over one or the other, he's very fast on his feet. He doesn't need a prompter. He doesn't need talking points or notes. He's very smooth. But he's not in the upper tier. Now, what's amazing me about Florida, and you know the state better than I do, but in Florida, pitted even against Jeb Bush, if it came to that, they're statistically tied, which surprised me. I mean, they're within a few points. What do you make of that?
Neil, I remember when Senator Rubio decided to run for the United States Senate. He ran against Governor Charlie Crist, a Republican.
I remember it well.
All these same people backed Charlie Crist. Marco Rubio had a handful of supporters. I was privileged to be one of them, and he beat the incumbent governor here in the state of Florida.
He's defied the odds before. But he's certainly in that upper tier, maybe not the top tier, but it's still way, way early. But, Norman, thank you very, very much. I'll be checking back.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Neil.
Norman.